Hello and welcome to Were You Not Entertained? I'm Daniel,
I'm Rachel.
And I'm James.
and we are continuing spooky season with a movie that is actually spooky.
Yes. Oh my God. All right. I'm taking the lead on this one right here.
Well,
I love this movie.
You want to say what the movie is?
Yes. I love this movie. I love it a ton. And it's The Conjuring. I'm not a big fan of horror. And usually I like horror that has more of a sci-fi element to it or, is kind of funny.
Kind of.
Yeah. Pandorum is almost horror-ish. Alien. Love them.
Good examples.
But this is a pure horror movie. I mean, it's about ghosts and goblins and demons and stuff. And
there's no goblins.
I mean, fair enough. Yeah, you're right.
It is about ghosts and demons. And
There's the possessed doll. I mean, that's goblin-esque. Anyway, regardless.
Rampage.
Continuing. Yes. There's something about the way this movie is expertly crafted that makes me absolutely love it. I love the dueling stories. I love the way that it builds on suspense, and it doesn't do it with jump scares. It is just it has its great moments of levity and release of tension, but when it decides the tension's going to be on, it just builds and builds and builds. And I never get like, oh, that was cheap and undeserved. I just get goosebumps over and over and over throughout this movie. I absolutely love it. The Conjuring is definitely my favorite pure horror film.
I think it's definitely one of the best real horror films that's been made in a long time.
Yeah.
There might be something that I'm not thinking of, but I'd probably say in the last decade or so.
It's my favorite. I'll say that much.
Yeah. No, I think The Conjuring's great. It's one of the rare horror movies where the acting is phenomenal, the writing is great, your set is authentic, everything feels real. There are a few jump scares, but they don't really feel cheap.
Right.
You know, like when they're supposed to be, when the song finishes, you'll see him in the mirror. That's a jump scare, but it's funny and it fits.
It's how they in the movie.
And that's the thing. They tell you what's going to happen and it's still scary.
Right.
Like that's impressive. So much horror is reliant on the unknown. And love it.
Yeah, no, I think that a good example of that is like the wardrobe, right? So there's a lot of creepy crap going on.
Dude, I literally just got chills when you said that because I thought about when they're playing hide and clap.
Yes.
And the arms come out and clap. Oh, dude. Freaking unnerving. It's the best. I wouldn't say it's scary. I mean,
that part itself is not scary. It is very unnerving.
Oh my God. It is so uncomfortable. I love it.
I would have thought that I had lost my mind.
Dude.
Out of my way. There's no way.
No, and it is such a good subtle build because when she starts waking up with the bruises and just little creepy things are happening. The house is cold. It smells weird.
Yeah.
It's all these sort of small things that you can explain away until finally we get the moments where the pictures are crashing off the wall and all these big elements are happening. And they do such a good job of sound effects.
Yeah.
Because the music is just the right tone to make you uncomfortable. It makes you nervous and puts you on the edge of your seat. And then they use silence so well.
The music comes in so perfectly too. You don't notice it most of the time. It is perfect ambience.
Yeah, exactly. It is about a feeling. It's not about the music itself.
Yeah. Well, and so I guess maybe the point that I was trying to make with the wardrobe thing was the use of misdirection. Like, you know that there's something going on with the wardrobe,
Mm-hmm.
So when the one sister's in there banging her head on it, and her big sister, pulls her away and goes and puts her in her bed, and then
Yeah.
the wardrobe starts, the doors start banging again. When she goes over there, you expect, because that's what you've seen so far is like hands coming out of the wardrobe. So you're expecting something to leap out of the wardrobe,
Right.
but it doesn't.
You look up.
It's the witch that's on top of the wardrobe.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love ghost movies.
Or like the clap behind her when she's in the cellar.
Oh, they're my favorite of the horror movies, and this is a movie that like exemplifies that to me, because there's really no blood, there's no gore.
Right.
You have no profanity, no nudity. There's none of these elements, and it's rated R. Just because of how scary and intense it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I think that's what a horror movie is to me.
Yeah.
They take away a lot of the things that other horror movies have to lean on.
Right.
And they do it from a pure scary factor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they can leave you feeling horrified
without
ever showing you, somebody cutting someone's face off or, any of these other kind of elements. And especially when the girls are in their bedroom and the one of them starts screaming because there's someone behind the door. You never see what's behind the door.
Right.
But it's just, oh my God. It leaves you feeling where, like, that night when you turn the lights out, it's like, is there something behind the door, or is that just my mind playing tricks?
And every time one of the characters, because you have her sister first, and then you have the dad, Ron Livingston's character. Both of them go and check out behind the door, and each time you expect something terrible to happen, and it doesn't.
Right. Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, there's a few of those moments where you're expecting something, just because other horror movies have kind of queued you up on stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah.
And they do deliver sometimes. So it's what's interesting about it is, like, in the one scene where you have the dad who's downstairs asleep and the TV's on or whatever, and he hears a noise, and you can tell, as the audience, you can tell that there's something going on.
Right.
You can hear like creaking of floorboards or whatever, and so he's looking around, and the door kind of by their front door, I guess, or their mudroom, is kind of opening and closing or whatever, shutting, slamming against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that moment, you're expecting to see something. Like you expect there to be a jump scare there. But they show you, and it's like the window's open. And so that's the explanation of why the door is blowing against the wall and making these thumping noises or whatever. And then it's, upstairs. But
they they give you the opportunity to explain it away if you really want to.
Right. Exactly.
But there's that piece in the back of your mind that knows that, okay, I'll take the explanation this time, but I don't think it's right.
Right. So, well, by the time you get to, like, when the cop is in there and he's looking around, and then he sees the maid, I guess.
Yeah.
So by the time you get there, you're not necessarily expecting them to use the same kind of scene to set up a jump scare.
Right.
Right. Because you're like, they've already done this before. It's going to be something like you're going to expect to see something like moving in the background or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, not this time.
No. And I think everybody in this movie fit and did such a great job. And for me, Vera Farmiga was a total standout as Lorraine Warren.
Oh, yeah.
This cast was phenomenal. At least the four mains, absolutely perfect.
Yeah, they nailed it.
Yes. Yeah, for me, she has such a unique way of being soft spoken enough that she's not imposing, but she still has this very firm quality to her voice where you know she has authority.
She seems really powerful in a very subdued way.
Yes, she's very quiet and calm, but you know she can handle herself and handle whatever the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I like that. I think that makes for a really compelling main character. Or I guess she's not really the main character, but
Well, so it's like this entire thing is based off of their stories, off the Warren stories.
yes.
Which
so you can.
I do want to kind of jump in right there.
Mhm.
So the one thing that is often criticized about this movie is that it's based off of a true story kind of thing. There's some pretty good evidence that the Warrens were less than reputable, as obviously anybody who hunts ghosts and demonology typically get labeled with.
Right.
But there's some pretty good evidence
It's
that
not
they
uncommon
might
for
have
the
been.
field.
What's that?
Said it's not uncommon for the field.
Right. But there's also some pretty good, at least easily findable things that make them seem less than credible. And I'm trying to be fairly generous right there. But that's one thing that really surprised me on this watch through, is thinking about that when I was going into the movie. The intro with Annabelle, because they start the movie off with Annabelle,
Right.
which is seen multiple times throughout the movie, but then ends up spinning off into its own movie later on.
Mhm.
They almost kind of make the audience question whether the Warrens are cons or not. By the end of the movie, I think that it's pretty easy to tell that the film itself thinks that they're legitimate, but they seed that doubt in the audience's head pretty early on as almost a way to be like, you make your own decision. And I thought that was actually really cool. They didn't just, make them as these, heroes of justice that are fighting the dark forces of evil that the rest of us don't see or encounter. I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I mean they did definitely allow you to kind of make your own decision, right?
Mhm.
About obviously, I think that if you wholeheartedly believe in these sorts of things, then you think that the Warrens are like top notch, right? They're probably like the best in their field, and they're there to help, and
They're class. Yeah, they're like almost heroes.
right, exactly.
Yeah, pretty premium.
Yeah, and if you don't, then they don't seem to oversell it. But what they do is throughout the movie is paint them as people that are just trying to help.
Right.
So whether you believe in whatever they're fighting or not, they don't. I think toward the end, you can't see them as being some sort of cons or anything like that. I mean, they're legitimately trying to help, and that's how they're painted. I don't know the people in real life, so
Yeah,
but
as far as the film, they seem genuinely invested in this family and their well-being.
right, they just
Yeah.
want to help them, like, not be terrorized in their own home.
And even with the previous family, where we see them go to the house and look for the ghost or whatever, and they tell them, no, it's not your house.
Yeah, your house is
Yeah.
It's usually not. There's always an explanation. So I felt like they kind of were setting it up themselves to maybe come across as more professional about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's a legitimacy. Yeah, that adds legitimacy to them, because it means that they are not just pure cons who are always looking to take anything that's unexplained and say it's ghosts. They look for the explanation first, and when truly unusual things happen is when they take that dive.
Right. Exactly.
Which makes for a very good movie.
It does. It makes for quite a few good movies, actually.
Right.
Yeah, almost a whole universe of movies at this point.
Well, we've got 2 Conjurings and 3 Annabelles.
Annabelle's and is it La Llorona? Is that one tied
Oh
to this
yeah,
as well?
and The Nun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, The Nun is super, 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 super creepy.
It is.
It is
Okay.
super, super creepy.
I heard that it wasn't that great from a couple people, but I didn't ever actually dig into it.
I don't think it's a great movie. It's just creepy.
Okay. Fair enough.
It definitely leaves you a little more uncomfortable than this one did, but I don't know that I'd say it's the same quality.
No, it's I don't think it's anywhere near the same. Yeah, quality, for lack of a better term. It's not a production value thing. It's more storyline. The writing of it, how they build you into it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
The visual, that nun is terrifying.
Yes. The Nun is, yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm not going to, in case you haven't seen that,
Well,
I'm not gonna
maybe we'll cover that
spoil-
next Halloween.
I won't spoil this with that or that with this.
Halloween
Fair enough.
We'll do it-
2021.
We'll do it both ways.
Yeah. You got a whole year to wait for us to talk about the Nun.
Yeah, exactly.
This
Yeah.
year's packed.
Calm down. Let's talk about The
Yes.
Conjuring.
But no, they're all in the same universe. They're all tied together. So they've had a lot of movies
Right.
based off
Well,
of
and
these
that's
stories off the Warren.
using the
stories.
term universe super loosely because it is
Well, yeah,
our
it's-
world.
it's not- Well,
These
right.
are real people with
We're
their
not
real stories, but
talking Marvel.
The
universe
Warren
or
verse.
anything. The
Yeah.
Warren verse, exactly.
exactly.
That's what we were looking for. Coined a new term.
There we go. I did want to make sure that we did mention a couple things, though, because we did talk about Vera Farmiga, and I mentioned Ron Livingston, but Lily Taylor and Patrick Wilson rounded those 4 out, and
Yes.
those are the 4 that made the movie. Every one of them was exactly the performance needed for the character given, because in so many movies you have the mother or the father who doesn't really believe it, or
Mhm.
you have some sort of like trying to convince the other ones kind of situation. Well, Roger, the father, Ron Livingston's character, had a little bit of that. He wasn't unreasonable about it either. It wasn't some like deeply held belief that ghosts cannot be real because all my beliefs fall apart if it's true kind of attitude.
Right.
And it was so perfectly played. The concern that Ed Warren had for Lorraine, and based off of the previous exorcism that went bad, there's just so many little things that made them so well-rounded characters and believable and entertaining and made you root for them.
Right. Yeah.
I
exactly.
love this cast. And the kids are all great too.
Yeah, I think the Perrin family was awesome in this. They picked a really strong group to
Mhm.
portray them, and the mother especially.
Yeah.
She feels so warm and concerned in the beginning.
Lily Taylor's so good in this.
She is
She is,
amazing.
Yeah.
And then even when, she becomes Bathsheba, she's horrifying, but then
Mhm.
she still has that moment of clarity when she can remember the good things and it doesn't feel too staged.
Right.
It's not too theatrical, but yeah, it was just overall really well done.
Love it.
Love it.
And we've talked a lot about all the ambience and the music and things like that. I was paying attention specifically to this because it caught me early on. The cinematography in this is literally perfect.
Yeah.
It is beautifully shot. The shots turn and linger in exactly the right place. You see exactly as much as you need to get the experience they're trying to give without overshowing you. And you never have that feeling like, oh, they're just waiting to the very end to show me it because it'll be a big disappointment. It never feels like that. And you see the witch early on multiple times from different angles.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the maid who was killed. And there's so many different things that are shown to you, and it doesn't reduce the creep factor because it's done in such an artful way. And the tone of the color tone is beautiful. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Absolutely. It's very impressive, this movie.
Yeah.
It is. It's so good you almost forget that it's a horror movie, in the sense of, if you say horror, you just think of something cheaper.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean,
You expect them to spend all their money on like prosthetic, floppy arms and blood pools.
Yeah, that's true.
Or even just special effects in general.
Right.
This movie, despite having lots of ghosts and things, there weren't a lot of special effects in this.
Mm-hmm.
So, all in all, 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, well, and I think that you find that in the genre itself, even if it's what would be considered a blockbuster, even if tons of people went and saw it, they rarely have good ratings from critics or or fans. Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's odd to see a movie like this in this genre that actually has decent ratings, which this has decent ratings.
Yeah.
And I think they're very well deserved. I think that they should be higher than they are.
I think so too.
It's what, 78 Metascore and a 7.5 on IMDb. Yeah, it should be higher than that for sure.
Yeah, I think that this movie, I would not be blown away if somebody gave this an A. Like in the 9s. Personally, I think it's in the high 8s if I had to put a number on it.
Yeah.
But this is a top-notch film. If you love movies and you love suspense, even if you don't like horror, you should like this movie. It's just perfectly crafted.
It is. It is a horror masterpiece.
Yes.
All right. Well, you guys ready to get into favorite scenes?
Absolutely.
Let's do it.
All right. You're up first, Daniel. What's your favorite scene?
My favorite scene is actually when the mother gets possessed.
First, when she drives off with the kids, or in the basement?
No, when she actually gets possessed, like when she goes up for the nap.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of starts with Ed and Lorraine kind of talking about how they want to help the family and kind of how beautiful the place is and how nice it is to have a family and, all these sorts of nice things. And they're there helping her out, or helping them out, and doing the laundry is pretty much what Lorraine was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was like taking the clothes down, folding them or whatever. And then she had this feeling, this sense, as she does. And then one of the, the wind kicked up, one of the sheets kicked off. So, and I love how they did this.
Oh, I don't know how they did it.
I don't either.
Other than CG.
Yeah. But when the sheet kicked off and then hit the ghost, and you see the form, and then it immediately like disappeared, and the sheet goes straight up to the window where she's napping. And then it falls down, and then you see the ghost up in the window. I thought that was very artful in its execution.
Yeah, it was really good.
So I enjoy how they made that transition. And then the next thing is she wakes up with, I guess she's kind of a demon, for lack of the witch. We'll just call her the witch. Wakes up with the witch on top of her, and then gets blood vomited into her mouth.
Ugh.
And that is the possession. That
Right.
is the moment when she becomes possessed by the witch, and how it's kind of played off from there. Oh, I just woke up from my nap and I wasn't feeling well, so
Mhm.
I threw up, and all right, let's just carry on. And what else? What else do you do?
Yeah.
Lorraine just kind of has to go, okay.
Yeah.
That was really weird, and I think I saw something happen, but I can't be sure.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But no, I thought that scene was done really well, and I like how it kind of portrayed the characters in those moments of the sense, and then you can't really just call the mom out. You're lying.
Yeah.
Right.
um, but yeah, I think it was a good moment.
Very good choice. Yeah. No, that's a great one.
Yeah, it's gonna.
What about you, Rachel?
I wouldn't say that I have a favorite scene so much as I have a favorite thing.
Sure.
Okay.
My favorite thing is the tree.
Ooh.
It's what's on the cover. It's kind of the central realization of what happened and who's in the house with them.
Yeah.
It's kind of the creepy.
Yes,
The
and
core of the backstory.
I really
Yeah.
like the reveal of when Lorraine is standing under the tree and they're
And
talking
she
about
hears
this
the-
is where Bathsheba was hung, and yeah,
And she sees.
Yeah.
she sees the body, and the whole thing is just very creepy, and I really like it. It's another one of those super iconic visuals. This is what The Conjuring is, to me.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
right. That is not a scene, but
No, it's not really a scene, but that's the thing that stands out the most for me.
Fair enough.
nice. Yeah. We'll go with that. What about you, James?
I already talked about it before, but I'll go into a little bit more depth. It is absolutely when the older girls, I think they're going to school or something like that, or they go into town with the dad or something like that. And your mother, Carolyn, and the youngest daughter, Cindy or April, I don't remember which one was the youngest, are still in the house by themselves, and she wants to play clap and hide.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And the following her sounds, and it starts off sounding like it's the little girl, but the closer she gets, it sounds more like an adult clap.
Right.
It starts to get unnerving, and then you get that like turn into the room and you see that it is the wardrobe, and you already know there's something wrong about that wardrobe.
Right.
And
Jeez.
when the hands come out, like the pit of my, I'm literally getting chills about it again. We just talked about this a minute ago. Like, it's just so perfectly unnerving and done in such a great way. And it has no major payoff right then.
No.
That's all set up for later, but it's enough to just give you this sense of dread that something foreboding is in this house. It's not just wind or an old house creaking, that there is something really wrong here. And I just love every bit of it. That is the scene that sells me.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
a really good one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is one of the scenes that kind of pulls your attention to that wardrobe,
Mm-hmm.
which is, like I said, I enjoy their kind of misdirection that they use. It's not true misdirection.
It's just build up.
Yeah, you're just expecting it from one place, and they just change it just a little,
Right.
a little tweak.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, great choice.
Thank you. All right. Well, then I think that just about wraps it up for The Conjuring. Hopefully you loved our coverage of it. If you did, please go online and like and subscribe, and be sure to join us next time on Were You Not Entertained?